Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Awakening Potential Show. It's your gateway to the extraordinary, and where you get to hear and step up and stand out. So you get to choose to ignite your extraordinary inside of you because you were meant to be extraordinary. And today we're featuring Lonjeray Samadhi, who has mastered turning everyday moments into milestones of wisdom, being a vibrational life coach, sound frequency expert, trauma expert, and archaeologist of your emotional intelligence. Love that. Helps people around the world, right? I'm going to say feel better emotionally, energetically, and physically in less than 10 minutes with a vibrational meditation protocol he created. And I'll attest to that as I'm one of his biggest fans.
Mhm.
Vibration and meditation is how it impacts our world internally and externally, energetically. And I love that subject. So, as you join us delving into his transformational journey and clean insights, let's embark together on a warm welcome for Lonjeray Samadhi. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Many blessings, many blessings.
Thank you. Thank you. It's such a pleasure to have you here. As I said, you're one of my biggest fans. Being into energy and doing what we do, right?
Mm.
Talk to the audience, if you would, more about that, because I could talk about it till the cows come home. But from your perspective of what you do, expand on it a little, if you would.
Energy. Think of it as your furnace has a
Mhm.
pilot light. Your stove has the energy that pumps from it, whether if it's electric or gas. Mother Nature has volcanoes. There's air between us and through us and in us. So even just tapping to the elements, energy, vibration,
Mhm.
is happening always just due to quantum physics, neuroscience. We can see that we have atoms within our cells, right, which is a lot of energy and voltage, right? So when we are processing and thinking and expressing our daily life, all that is happening within us is called the autonomic nervous system, right?
Right.
Yeah. So it's a lot, but also it can be very simplified, much simplified if we choose to look at the basics of what I just shared, the elements, mhm,
Love that.
which is energy.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I had an experience with you yesterday. Yesterday, I think it was. My days are getting away from me. And
Mm.
I love this because since you and I have been working together, it's almost like you're in my head. No sooner was I going down a path, and all of a sudden I get a text message from Lingerie. And it was just like, I'm going to call in 5 minutes or something like that. And I was like, where did this come from?
I
But
got
I
the
love that connection. I love the connection. And we're all connected, right?
picture.
Because we're all energy. And I love the fact that by hiring you, right, it is taking on a whole different gamut. So for the layperson who has never worked with energetics or doing what you and I are doing together, well, give them a little background. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Specifically of the work itself of
yeah.
what we'd say, because there's so much to tap into, because again, what I was sharing before, there's patterns that
Mhm.
are underlaid through our life, and we speak from these patterns. So when we
Yes.
do the work and what we do, and what many others do on the planet for personal development, it's
Mhm.
just taking a look at the patterns. Some people
Mhm.
call it trauma, but I like to call it patterns.
Yeah.
Patterns are lighter, and you don't have to take it so seriously, because sometimes some of us have been severely traumatized. I've worked with hundreds and thousands of people in the last 20 years, with severe experiences. So patterns are 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 engraved into us as a child, as through social norms or parents, and so many other experiences that were just there in front of us because we saw it, right?
Right.
So within that, it's great, it's really good, it's really healthy to excavate and look at and pull up all of that stuff that's not ours, and that maybe could be ours, but we know how to hold it and be with it and work with it more than how we've done before in the past.
Love it. Love it. Let's go back in time for a moment, if we may. And when you were growing up, like what was it like growing up for you? And do you notice any, for lack of better, patterns that brought you to where you are today? Or something you played with when you were a
Oh,
child that brought you to where
yeah, my childhood was amazing, and and also I wouldn't call it traumatizing, but we have so many experiences that still program us. So
Mhm.
my childhood was intense. Yes, some people might be moved by what I'm about to say, but I'm Jamaican background. I have a cultural background, so I did get hit with the spoon. I did get beat with the belt, and it's very old school. It's very old school, and it's traumatizing.
I
But at
feel it
the same
now.
time, it was almost like good trauma. I was like, where? It's very interesting because my parents set boundaries
Yeah, exactly.
and I learned.
Mm.
And because of that, I still rebelled. So it's like this weird paradox of of
Yep,
childhood. And I'm so grateful for it because it makes us who we are today.
absolutely. Absolutely.
My parents are from Barbados and from Jamaica. So I did grow up with a cultural jungle back home
Mm.
experience of getting into the dirt, learning about herbs, learning about the farm, and learning about the roots and the grassroots of how things are created, and again, herbs, agriculture, just at a very early age.
Nice.
And my mom and dad are priests, and they studied the alchemy of the African backgrounds, but also theology, psychiatry a little bit that they've touched on, and spirituality to dive more into we call it pseudo spiritual energy. Mhm.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you grew up with this. So this is a natural way of being for you.
Yeah. Yes.
You definitely have a gift.
Yes. Exactly. Well, I saw it. I'll share just a little bit more. You said about my childhood where
Yeah.
I didn't know how to read or write as a child. So I grew up, yes, in a neighborhood that was not as fortunate, and seeing that I didn't know how to read or write, I still needed to get around. I still needed to function, and I was actually aware of that because people did call me dumb and the whole shebang, and they put me in ESL classes. And but I saw that I was able to look at a teacher, I was able to look at someone and be like, you are not telling the truth, you are not being authentic, right? Because I would understand someone when they were real, when they were authentic, and that was my gift as a child, to know authenticity.
Beautiful, beautiful. And that is a gift. Truly is a gift. And obviously the gifts have developed the gifts because I know there's more than one at this point, but they've obviously developed since childhood.
Mhm.
Now, was that something that you took on yourself to amplify it, for lack of better, or was that just something that just as you grew, it grew with you?
Yeah, it grew with me. My mom and dad put me through, again, very religious, but I felt like I wasn't religious at the same time, even though I still was just going through the motions and going through the flow. So at the age of 8, I was baptized, but I also, people know it as Kundalini.
Mhm.
People know it as spirit moving through the body. Joe Dispenza knows it as the rising of the
Right.
serpent,
Yeah.
right? So I had that at 8 years old. Yeah, I knew about Kundalini at 8 years old. Ultimately,
That's
yeah, it was amazing. So from
Yeah.
that moment on, I was like, what's this energy inside of us? And still was processing it through my younger years and into being a teenager. And my dad died at the age of 19.
Mm.
So I pretty much took it on myself, like being a part of a few gangs in the drug world and all that stuff. I easily got out of that and put myself into studying Buddhism and meditation, yoga, and that's when it really shifted for me because of how he died from a heart attack. I was just like, it's time to study the human body and study about myself first, work on me so I can help
Yes.
others.
Beautiful, beautiful. So back in those days when you were studying yourself and learning about yourself and the human body, who were some of your mentors back then?
Wow, it's amazing. Bruce Lee, number one.
Yeah.
Bruce Lee, number one. I was like, he was alive when I was alive. I'm from the 80s. So, I saw his movies, I was watching Into the all the stuff. I was studying his books. And then I also started studying like Joe Dispenza, What the Bleep Do We Know, like way back when he first
Oh,
started.
yes. Yeah, I forgot
And,
he was coming.
and then Wayne Dyer and then Cortoli. So those are base books. The Power of Now was like
Yeah.
one of my first books I read that when I actually knew how to read properly. And is really a big, and then Tony Robbins. It was just not too much Tony. It was just more about the affirmation incantations from the Tony Robbins side. And I pretty much leaned into, again, they call it the metaphysical meditations, and learning about angels, because my dad studied with Edgar Cayce. So I
Okay.
studied a lot of the Edgar Cayce teachings and the Akashic records and some of the things that were way out there. So I was studying that at a very early age. And then, and actually before Eckhart Tolle and Wayne Dyer, I studied something called the Emerald Tablets.
Why does that sound familiar?
Emerald Tablets, and it talks about the Sumerians.
Yes,
It
okay.
was and I was like 20 years old, 21 years
Ah,
old, and I'm
yes.
learning about all these things. So it was just eye-opening,
Yeah.
coming from a big religious background. And I love, and I shared this with you on the call the other day, that I love all the religions because each one has is a puzzle piece. Huh. Each one's
Yeah.
a puzzle piece. There's this one big puzzle,
Yep.
and we're on this planet, and we're all fighting, right? To say, me, religion, politics, I have to own this within oneself. But it's just a puzzle piece. And when you get to put it all together, you start to see the oneness, the wholeness.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love it. I look at life as a puzzle, as putting the puzzle pieces together. And I think that's what keeps me curious, like
Mhm.
really curious and wanting to know more. I feel like a perpetual learner because of that. I played with the manipulative puzzles when I was a kid. I couldn't get enough. And my grandfather, he was the one that kept feeding me the puzzles, like, the little metal ones that, figure out how to get them apart and to this day, I still feed my brain with puzzles. And
Yes.
I call it a lot of it when I'm working with clients, creative problem solving, which is for me, solving puzzles. So I just love that. And you're absolutely right, because I remember studying world religion and feeling the same thing when I was looking for myself outside of myself. I studied world religion until I
Yeah.
found me in the mix. But yeah, life has just been fascinating, as it sounds like it's been for you. So is there like a favorite something that came along that just goes, oh, this is it, and it clicked for you?
Yeah, it clicked when I went to Vipassana.
Mm.
So because I was deep into prayers at a young age, when I started to sit and meditate, so I felt that prayer is so important. But where there was a missing link for me, for my universe. And I was like, ooh, I'm an athlete, but meditation. So when I went to Vipassana, I had my first out of body experience. Hmm.
Mm.
Hmm. And I was meditating. We had to meditate for 4 to 8 hours a day, easy, and studying Bruce Lee, and then having that mindset of a warrior and strong in athletics and strong mindset. I said, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to sit. Kind of, that's why I love Joe. Because Joe's intense, but sit here and tame your ego, tame the lion. So I
Mm.
had that experience at Vipassana. So that was my big takeaway with that. Not to create a segment or sector of this because people that are Buddhist meditate, but that's where I learned it from. And
Yeah.
and everyone meditates, but they just do it in their own way. But when you can specifically breathe in a certain way, just like how even in yoga, I saw that there's a connection. There's like a syncing of the brain and the heart, which is heart math. And I
Yeah.
got that at a very early age. I was just like, oh, this feels good. I can sync up. I can bring myself into coherence. And if I'm dysregulated, I know how to co-regulate. So yeah, that was my big takeaway at a very young age.
That's awesome. I didn't realize you were into heart math. I'm also heart math licensed, and I loved it. I found it was a spiritual download for me when I was out there in California, and I was probably there the last year before they closed the program
Mhm.
and started doing it online. And oh my God, it was just the redwood forest was just like I had never seen it before. Amazing experience, amazing experience. Doc Charles. I believe he's still around too, but I
Mhm.
haven't been part of the community for a while, sadly. But so I'm curious. So moving fast forward with that, you start a company, right? Like, when did you know like you were going to be doing this work, and like how did it start?
I was living in Boca. I was, wow, man, I've lived so many lifetimes. I was in Costa Rica. I went to Costa Rica. I lived there for 2 years because I wanted to be an Ashtanga yoga teacher,
Oh,
certified.
yeah.
Also a mix of Bikram, if some people remember Bikram from back in the day. So I was I left home at an early age to live my dream of of and mission to help others because of how my dad died. But I knew that I needed to study yoga and travel the world.
Oh, sweet.
So pretty much from Costa Rica, then to Boca Raton, Florida. That was my transition into really knowing that this is my path because I was connected to, I don't know if you guys remember Shiva Ray or some of these older yogis from back in David Swanson, yogis from back in the days that I chose to train with. And it was just so enlightening. And I knew that even though yoga is the base, I wanted to be a coach of some sort that was very intimate for people
Mhm.
because I was a personal trainer as well. And I was a track athlete and a soccer player, but I
Oh,
also knew nutrition as well. So I studied in Toronto. So to go a little more backwards, I was at IHN, which is Institute of Holistic Nutrition in Toronto, Canada. And I was there for about 3 years,
oh, wow.
studying symptomatology, iodology. Again, this is way back. This is way back when. This is 20 plus years ago. So, yeah, herbology. And the reason why I did that is because of my background of how I grew up, right? I was just drawn to helping people. So I was just like, okay, well, if I learn how to cook properly, the macrobiotic medicine and the herbs and the right foods and staples, how can I go into someone's home and cook for their family? So pretty much I started up a business, just my own, and I was just like, I'm a personal trainer, yoga instructor, nutritionist, life coach that can come into your home and do it all for you. So I was
Oh,
working in the Hamptons, and I was being flown everywhere. And I just started to create the business on my own because I saw that no one was doing something like this.
very cool. Very cool. What a great life. But
Yeah.
somewhere along the line, you changed your name. Tell us what
Yes.
your name means and the name of your business. What does that mean?
Yes. So Longe, people call me Longe for short. Lingerie, and lingerie means longevity. Longevity. It's French, and the root of it comes from France. And I feel that for me, this is just my universe, French and English, because I grew up in Canada.
Right.
It's like so different. It's just like so opposite, you know. And then we have all these other languages in Europe and Africa
Sure.
and wherever around the world. And because I was dyslexic, I didn't know how to read or write. I did honor the French language, and I saw that people from Africa speak French.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, French is like the opposite of English. I saw it as like my brain. My brain sounds like opposite, you know. So I felt that longevity tracking me. Longevity is when you can actually have the opposite brain be coherent. So we have a right brain and a left brain.
Mhm.
We have a right side and a left side of the body. But as children, we're not taught to access both right and left hemispheres of the brain. As teenagers, as adults, we're not taught to access both sides of the brain. Our school system teaches us to only access one way, period. Life and your parents, you grew up this way, that's it, done. That's it. So there's no space for the brain to grow and to tap into your femininity, your
Mhm.
feminine energy a little bit more, because we are yin and yang,
Exactly.
right? So when you think a certain way and you're very logical, that's one way of thinking. And if that's your truth and your light and your way, that is logic and that's right for you.
Okay. Beautiful.
But I might change my name because I'm balanced in both right hemispheres of my brain.
Love that. Love that. And then your company name.
Yes, my company name is Vibadelic. So Vibadelic, and Vibadelic is about, if you hear the word Vibadelic, psychedelic, it's so vibration, vibe, vibration. As you hear me talking, it's a vibration. We are emanating a vibration. Just again from Joe's work, we can see this in any kind of um, uh, EEG scans that we do within the brain. You can see vibration, theta, alpha, beta, gamma, all of its vibration, delta.
Yeah.
It's a frequency, which is a vibration. So when you have vibration and you choose to tap into the highest form of vibration, and some people do use psychedelics for that in a very positive setting, you can access newer states and higher states of vibration. We can see this through if MAPS Institute and many other institutes that are studying that specific niche. And even if you don't get into that niche of psychedelics, you can also access that through yoga, through breathing, through retreats, through a pilgrimage, through a journey, right? So you access all of this through your breath, and a lot of people don't know that. So that's why I call it vibadelic, because it's one word that expresses all of what we are as humans.
I love that. I love that. And just for the listening audience, when Lingerie is talking about Joe, he's referencing Joe Vitale. Joe,
Joe Dispenza.
Joe Dispenza, excuse
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah.
I
Joe,
think
the other Joe is
Ho'oponopono.
he's Ho'oponopono.
Ho'oponopono,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, but I had Ho'oponopono on the brain.
yeah.
It's been a while. I need some kayaking.
NLP. That's how NLP started.
Yes.
Yeah, and the NLP is great, and that's a whole other conversation to talk about. Where there's a lot of greatness to NLP, but there's all a lot of glitches as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of NLP.
Mhm.
Absolutely. But you touched on, getting the psychedelics through the breath and through retreats. You have a retreat. Tell us more about your retreats and what do people
Oh,
come away with when they're doing.
yeah, I started doing retreats 2008, long time. And when Costa Rica started to really do its thing, and there was a lot of expats and people just traveling around the world. So that was my first introduction to starting up my own retreat and learning how to cook for people and people with certain ailments, and providing them with again specific diets, nutrition, supplementation, with yoga, vibration. And as I got older and moving into this, yes, work of psychedelics, I was just like, okay, how can I compact it into one setting? Doesn't have to be 7 days, doesn't have to be 3 days, can it be one day? So I've created a protocol, as I shared at the beginning of this, that I do with people online and in person for 10 minutes that can help reboot their brain. But when they want to be with me longer, I have a whole day where they can come see me. And I do, again, breath work, light therapy, vibrational therapy, movement, and I call it a data dump. We do a data dump so they can feel completely brand new from the life that they're experiencing right now.
So is that all you do at the retreats, or is there more?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yes,
a lot, a lot. But what else?
yeah, no, that's all of it right there. All of it: yoga, meditation, good food, learning about the body. Again, vibration, frequency, attunement, data dumping, talk therapy. Yeah, and then I've been doing cold plunges my whole life almost. So it's always good to add in some kind of, whether if it's a cold plunge or a cold shower, to just wake up.
Uh, it's so interesting because I was just challenged this week to do a cold, putting your hand in ice water for like 6 to 8 minutes, something like that. It's easier for me to get in a cold shower than it was for me to keep my hand in that, that water. So,
Yeah,
yeah, but I was like, okay, I attempted. But that's awesome. So who would your retreats be ideal? Like, who would be your ideal client for that?
oh, I mean, I would say mostly my clientele for the last 15 years doing retreats has been ages from 40 to 70,
Right.
men and women. Mhm. The younger generation, they're still figuring out what they want. But when you reach 40 years old, you know what you want.
Like,
I've been actually studying the age groups and how they think.
mhm.
Yeah. So, and I do work with a lot of teenagers. And I would say when I first started doing it 15 years ago, a lot of teenagers were coming to me for support because I was
Nice.
working with the parents. And they were like, my parents got an upgrade. Who's this guy? I want some of that. Right. So I've been working with teenagers on and off as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I know without mentioning names, we don't have to unless you want to, but certainly, but I know you're working with some pretty high-end clients right now
Yeah.
that range from, I think, if I recall, they were, athletes and actors and so on. And is there a particular, or it's just whom shows up?
Yeah, it's a great question. And not to talk about any names here because it's all confidential,
Yeah.
but it's a frequency because I've been
Yes.
playing. So I do have an Instagram, right? It's Lonjéray the fifth, and I'm not on there much because it's all about frequency. I actually am very busy with clientele, and I create so much intimacy with each client. I give them all of my attention, right? And I get to learn all about their world and their environment, and I respect that. So that's important for me because so all my work has been word of mouth,
Nice.
word of mouth. Yeah.
That's awesome. And you've been doing it for many, many years now. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that speaks volume.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said,
I was I was certified as a yoga teacher, hatha yoga teacher, 2004.
uh,
Oh yeah, 20 years ago. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 2004. And I was just like basic hatha. And I was like, this is amazing. And I think it took about almost 5 to 10 years after that for men to start doing yoga. It was only
Wow.
women.
I didn't realize that.
Oh, it
Wow.
was only women. And I was traveling. I was traveling with him. I was like, oh my gosh, there's only women. When is the men going to come in? And then that's when, I was in this book called 2100 Yoga Asanas. 2100 Yoga Asanas. It's on Amazon. Yeah,
Wow, that's
yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah. So that's when the men started to get into it.
Very cool. Very cool. So what's been the highlight of your career thus far?
I would say meeting my current my current business partner. And the struggle it took to meet who I know now. It's like you already, a lot of people know this, but we don't count the failures. Not until you're like fully in a place of success. Then you look at everything and you're like, OMG, look at my failures. And a lot of people didn't believe in me. A lot of people didn't support me. Some people did, but they maybe supported me half-ass, you know? Some people, it's my dream. It's not your dream. So sometimes
Right.
we share your dreams with people, or we have a little powwow, and we have a spiritual community, but it's still my dream. So ultimately, I would say the greatest highlight has been the struggles. Like my like I would be here for 3 hours, and I'm writing my book currently. But my journey's been so much. I've had 9 lives, pretty much. So I would say the struggles through each time of my period. I've been married twice, a fiance as well, and I have 2 children. So everything has led me to now the success I am in now. So that's what I would.
Okay, absolutely. I love that. I love it. And it is a journey, right? It's not a destination, it's a journey.
Yeah.
It's I like to call it the becoming. It,
Ah, so good.
right?
Yes.
So, I never know what's next. And, I'm not attached to what's next.
And when you said the becoming, I saw a flower because the flower would go like this,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Right.
yes.
And it's the becoming. And guess what? The flower still, watch this, it has to die.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the process. That's why I said 9 lives,
Yeah.
because there's this rebirth that's happening
Absolutely.
all the time. Mm.
That's why I love talking to you because I love having conversations like this. And people look at me like, what? Like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's
it's just like, for your viewers, it's just, and I might be going fast, or if someone can understand or not, we get to unravel what we are saying. And if it sits with your soul, your heart, and taking a few days to sit with it and contemplate it, and what resonates and what sticks, and take what really resonates.
exactly, absolutely. So what was the one thing that really awakened your potential?
Mm.
Have to ask, we're
Well,
on the Awakening Potential show.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm gonna go there. It's like I already knew my potential, and I was, hmm, oh, 2 spaces where it really woke me up. My dad passing, okay, because death did it, and then I'll add my cousins in there and my grandpa. It was all like this death that was happening within me at a young age. And through my trauma, I chose certain marriages. So I would say my dad passing and my divorces. Yeah. Yeah. So those allowed me to see my potential, because I was not in my full potential at those times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I can relate to that. I resemble that remark. But yeah, absolutely. So with that being said, for the listening audience, what I like to call them pearls of wisdom, what pearls of wisdom that if somebody is on their journey, somewhere along the journey, and they're like, oh man, I want her, I wish I could, I don't know how to do that, that's never me. What would be a war with some pearls of wisdom to
Mm,
drop in that would support somebody who is on their journey and wanting to awaken their potential?
mm. It's okay. Okay, you ready for this? It's okay to say no. It's okay to.
Okay.
Uh, you there? Okay, wow. Something
Yeah,
happened there. It's in the universe. Boom.
yeah, it's okay to say no. Boom.
It's okay for you to sit in something that feels uncomfortable, even though it's your truth.
Yeah, yeah, love that. Yeah, absolutely perfect.
Boom.
Yeah, perfect. So this has just been so much fun. I know
Yeah.
you have a gift for the listening audience. Why don't
Oh
you
yeah. Yes.
tell them?
Yes.
Tell them. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Yes, I work with a lot of, entrepreneurs, multi millionaires. I love working with everyone. I've worked with autistic children. I've worked with the homeless. I've worked with teenagers. I've worked with young children. So I've worked with everyone. And even though my demographic is a certain age, I want to, whoever is seeing this, hearing this, and for your listeners, yes, a 30-minute consult, discovery call where you can do a little data dump and I can help coach within this 30 minutes time span and support whatever that you desire within your life. Mhm.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. This has been such a pleasure. I am so grateful that we get to,
Amazing.
as I said earlier, I've been working with Lingerie now for a few weeks. He came highly recommended and I took a leap of faith. I said yes, and I'm like blown away. And honest to goodness, I'm just so grateful as well. And I'm not just saying that to it's from the bottom of my heart. I'm
Yeah.
really
Well,
grateful.
it's authenticity. I share this with all my clients. I see clients daily throughout the day, and I just keep sharing it with you as your audience hears this. Let's continue
Yeah,
to be authentic,
yeah,
authentic,
absolutely.
authentic, authentic. And you will know when people are inauthentic because we have that within ourselves to be it. So once you choose to be it, you will seek it within another.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like attracts like.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
so I love it. Energy.
energy, energy, energy.
I could play with you all day. I love it. Seriously, I know you have other things to do, and I'm so grateful that you've carved out the time to be with us today and share your wisdom. It's just been so great. Lingerie, thank you so much for all your contributions.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Thank you to you, your show, your listeners. So much love. And this is a time of change through politics and everything that's happening. May we just be in unity within ourselves. Let's say that. May we find unity, harmony within ourselves to then find that within everyone on the planet. Boom.
Amen. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you, our listening audience, for joining us on the Awakening Potential Show. And as we step back into the world, remember the bridge from ordinary to extraordinary is built with small steps of courage and big leaps of faith. So let's look at the insights today from Lingerie and let it be a guiding light as you navigate your journey. And remember, you were born for greatness. You were born to be different. So make a difference and let your light shine. And until then, Continue to awaken your potential and illuminate the extraordinary within. Stay inspired. Bye for now.